So we've all been to school, right? But have you ever really stopped and thought about what makes a school building, great? It turns out there's this whole fascinating science behind it. And today, we're going to pull back the curtain and look at the blueprint for building a better place to learn. I want to start with a question, just to get you thinking. What if the school building itself was actually a teacher? What if its walls, its windows, and even the chairs and desks were actively shaping the learning experience every single day? It's a really powerful idea. And honestly, it's at the very core of everything we're about to explore. Because, the research is crystal clear on this. A school is so much more than just a box you put kids in. You got to think of it more like a finely tuned instrument. Every single element, from the layout of the classrooms to the color on the walls, it all plays a part in the overall harmony of education. So first, let's get the big picture here. We are talking about something way bigger than just bricks and mortar. The actual physical quality of a school has this massive, profound impact on the entire educational ecosystem. It's what people call the ripple effect. See, a quality school building doesn't just create a nice place to learn, it makes sure students are safe, it supports all kinds of different learning needs with dedicated spaces, and get this, it can even improve how well teachers teach. And when all those pieces click into place, well, students are just more likely to show up and stay engaged. It's all connected. So, knowing why this all matters, that brings us to the next big question. How do you actually do it? How do you build a great school? Well, it turns out there really is a blueprint, a set of 7 core principles that basically act as the foundation for any truly effective learning space. Okay, first up is functionality. And at its core, this just means the space has to be built for its purpose. A science lab needs sinks and Bunsen burners, right? A library needs quiet little corners for reading. Classrooms need to be adaptable. It's all about making the space work for the people in it. Building on that, and this one is an absolute non-negotiable, safety and security. This is the foundation that all learning is built on. We're talking about everything from obvious stuff like fire exits and good lighting to emergency plans and secure entrances. If kids don't feel safe, they can't learn, period. All right, once that foundation is solid, a school has to be ready for what's next. That brings us to flexibility and adaptability. Education is changing all the time. A school we built today has to be ready for the teaching methods and the technology of tomorrow. Think multi-purpose spaces, movable walls, things that can be easily reconfigured. A forward-thinking design is also a sustainable one, and this is just a total win-win. Using energy-efficient lighting, eco-friendly materials, and maximizing natural light, that stuff doesn't just help the planet, it seriously lowers the school's running costs over time. Our 5th principle, accessibility, is all about fairness, equity. A great school has to provide equal opportunities for every single student to succeed. And that means designing for everyone, with ramps, accessible restrooms, and whatever specialized equipment is needed for students with disabilities. And creating a fair environment also means thinking about comfort and aesthetics. Now, this might sound like a nice-to-have, but it's actually vital. Things like comfortable furniture, good air quality, and spaces that just look and feel good, they actually boost a student's ability to focus and be productive. It really matters. And finally, the principle that ties it all together for the modern age, technology integration. Look, in the 21st century, learning is digital. Schools need rock-solid internet, smart boards, and classrooms that have all the tools needed to support interactive, modern learning. Okay, so we've covered the big, high-level principles. Now let's zoom right in and look at the actual science of how a physical space affects the human body and mind. This is where it gets really, really cool. First, let's talk about ergonomics. This is basically the science of designing things to fit the human body, instead of forcing our bodies to fit the design. For a student who's sitting for hours every day, an ergonomic desk and chair aren't just about being comfortable. They actually prevent fatigue and physical strain, which has a direct link to improving focus. And closely related to that is anthropometry, which is the study of human body measurements. This is the science that proves why one-size-fits-all furniture is just a terrible idea for growing kids. Using this data helps make sure that chairs and desks are the right height, which is so crucial for good posture, for comfort, and even for safety. All these ideas feed into what experts call the 3 pillars of comfort. So you've got thermal comfort. If a room's too hot or too cold, your concentration just disappears. Then there's visual comfort. Good natural light without that annoying glare on your screen helps prevent eye strain. And finally, you have acoustical comfort, controlling noise so you can actually hear the teacher. You get these 3 right, and you've created a powerful zone for learning.
And get this, even the psychology of color plays a huge role. Seriously, it's not just about decoration. Calming colors like blues and greens are perfect for libraries and classrooms where focus is everything, because they can literally reduce anxiety. But on the flip side, stimulating colors like yellows and reds, they can energize and spark creativity, which makes them awesome for art rooms or gymnasiums.
Okay, let's zoom back out. We've seen the design principles, we've looked at the science, but how does this all actually come together in the real world? Well, it takes a ton of careful planning and involves the entire community. A lot of times, it starts with something called school mapping. This is a super strategic, data-driven tool that education authorities use. They'll analyze population data to figure out the absolute best place to put a new school, making sure that resources are spread out fairly and that everyone gets access to education. And building the school is really just the beginning. The work is managed through what's called an educational facilities program, and it's basically a continuous cycle. It's this loop of planning, then budgeting for things like maintenance, doing the actual upkeep, and then constantly monitoring and evaluating to see what needs to be improved next. It never really stops. But maybe the most important piece of the puzzle to remember is that a school never ever exists in a bubble. And that's where strong school-community relations become a kind of superpower. When parents, local businesses, and community members all get involved, it just boosts everything. It helps mobilize volunteers and resources, it builds trust, and it makes education more relevant to the students' own lives. So we kind of come full circle, back to where we started. A school is so much more than just a building. The next time you walk past your local school, I want you to really look at it, but with new eyes. It's not just a place where learning happens. Its very design is teaching lessons every single day. And the final question really is this: what is it teaching?